Hello YouTubes! Welcome back. We got a new project today. We got the Spirit Swamp Varmint. I want to unbox this thing and kind of show you guys what it looks like. I want to do some changes already. So I went to Spirit Halloween 4 different times to get this guy. I'll just pull it down this way. Let's see what we get out of the box. So obviously this guy is a fogger. So here's a fog adapter for one for each head. You get a big old plastic shield, which I'm assuming is his body, that's clear. I don't know which one's the front, which one's the back, so we got this. Just put this over there. Okay, we've got the head and the animatronic unit. Obviously your hose hooks up here. The rats' heads are already kind of dialed in together, sewn together. A bunch of hot glue excess left over I'm not happy about. Their mouths don't look nearly as pink as they do on the box, we'll have to change that. But not too bad. So you get the head, a whole bunch of hot glue for wires, and the 2 different controller, the leads for the heads. But the eyes are actually pretty nice. I kind of like the eyes. They did a good job on it. I'll give them that. It's a great looking prop, minus all this hot glue excess crap. Okay, so we got the heads. We've got a board, which I don't know about that tail. It's kind of janky and it's got a wire in there. I can feel the end of it. We're probably going to take that off. We're going to have to paint this board. We're not going to leave natural wood outside, especially if it's a fogger. So this must be some kind of control unit for the head or something. But the tail's kind of cool, but I'm not really thrilled about it. So we're going to change that tail. We're going to silicone fill this and put a different wire in. Okay, we got a big slab of fur and a big slab of foam, it looks like. So I guess it's one of those DIY rats. Okay. Looks like it's got some kind of velcros and stuff on it like that, where I guess you velcro it onto something. This is probably a fog adapter again for the end of the hose. Power cord, I'm assuming. Okay. Okay, so we got a power cord and a little bag of screws. So, and the power adapter. Okay. So let's see what else we got in the box. Instructions, probably gonna need these. And we got those little ratty limbs, which are actually pretty nice out of the box. That's pretty cool. You got those little feetsies. Looks like it's got 2 prongs on the top, 2 prongs over here. It's marked back foot, so that's pretty cool. They at least marked the stuff. So get that out of here. And let's kind of pre-assemble this guy. I'm gonna get this board painted first. I'm gonna get this tail taken off here because I just don't like that. It's the tail looks wonky and weird. I'm not real happy about that. So I'm gonna get this board shot with like a brown probably, and I'm gonna get this tail off. We're gonna silicone fill this thing. Okay, YouTube. So I went ahead and took that plain raw wood that we're not gonna leave untreated, and I put a couple coats of flat red 2X primer on there, so we ain't gotta worry about buckling, or we get lots of protection over the years, especially if we're gonna run fog on that guy. I went ahead and pulled apart the tail. They had a piece of just backer rod in there and a long piece of kind of sort of malleable wire. But that sucks. I want to upgrade this. I like when the rats have those like thick tails. And the tail is pretty nice, but it's not good enough. So we're going to make it better. I'm going to pump this whole thing full of silicone. I'm going to fill it up and just shoot silicone in there. I'm going to ram that backer rod down in there. And we'll get that nice fat thick rat tail that I love so much. Just pump it in there. And I'm going to squeeze it all down to the tail. Alright. So I'm just going to keep working it down until I get that nice thick ratty tail at the bottom. And then we'll insert the wire back in with the back rod, and that'll make up for the top area, so I don't have to fill it completely full of silicone where it's not going to move. So I'm going to fill this tail up when we come back. We're going to start on the next part of this thing. Okay, YouTubes. The board is painted. We're working on feet. They're pretty straightforward. You can see that they have 2 little knobbies that kind of just bolt right in, slide right into the little pegs on the underside. And they're marked front and back pretty nice, so it's pretty straightforward. They actually fit nice, and they give you a couple little screws to put in. So they want you to do that, and then they want you to put the head on, but I'm not quite ready for the head yet. I was kind of playing around with the head, and I thought, man, you know, it's a 2-eyed rat. I really like this thing to look like it came from 2 different rats, like 2 different mutant rats were sewn together like it was some kind of experiment or something like that. So I took apart the head. I know people are freaking out like, oh, cobwebs, you can't be taking apart spirit props. Oh yeah, you can. Cobwebs takes everything apart. They had this little backer plate in there looking thing. They had the little motor looking thing that hooks up sensors and lights and some other crap, I guess. But check that out. I thought, wouldn't it be really cool if this rat, because it was from two different rats, like an experiment sewn together, if it had two different color eyes? So I'm going to go ahead and try and fish two of those LEDs out and change one head to have different color eyes. Maybe green, maybe yellow. I'll go look at my LEDs and see what I can't figure out. So one guy will stay red, and then one guy will have a different color eyes. I think that'd be super cool for this prop. Okay, YouTubes, so I went ahead and cracked open this rat's head and all that crap fell out. I went ahead and dug out some of the LEDs, the red ones, and I got a green one inserted. Let's see what this looks like. Give it a little test. How about that? How about a green-eyed rat and a red-eyed rat? Super cool. Alright, I'm going to finish up this wiring, and then we're not done with this head yet. I want to kind of put some splits in here and make it look like it was sewn together like it's two different rat heads put on one body. So we're going to do that next. Okay, YouTubes, I got the rat done. The wiring for the LEDs are done in his eyes, so one set will glow red, one set will glow green. These eyes of the green LEDs are all hot glued together, so I'm good there. And what I want to do with this rat is make him look like some sort of like a diseased swamp rat that was like a test subject in some medical lab or something like that. So I want to go ahead and kind of split these heads and do them differently. I don't want two brown heads. I want to do one brown head and do one gray head. So my plan is to go ahead and try and shave some of this hair off because I want to put some nice staples and welting and stuff in there to make it look like this head part of the rat was sewn onto another rat's body. So I got the old beard trimmer. Hopefully this works. If not, I'll do something more drastic. This works great for defuzzing tennis balls, so let's see how this rolls. Can I get some of this fake fur off of the cloth backing? Looks like it's going to take a little while. Okay, YouTube, so the razor worked out pretty good without the guard on it. I went ahead and shaved me a little trench out on the top of the head and on the two heads coming together on the bottom. And I think what I want to go ahead and do is split this skin. It's only really connected and glued down at the front of the head. It's sort of loose on the neck back here, which is perfect for us. So I want to kind of split this open. Alright, we go with hot glue. See, nothing's glued back here, so that actually kind of helps us for once with Spirit and all their cheap hot glue. So my plan is, now that this is kind of defuzzed, I want to take this skin, I want to fold it back, and I'm going to glue that edge down right there. And I'm going to do both halves the same way. I'll probably use contact cement so that there's a little bit of you can see, so basically you see the two little bits of fold of the skin coming together, and then we're going to run the torch and poke some holes in there so we can pop some staples in here. Okay, YouTube, so I got everything split top and bottom. You can see he's got that nice little trench down the center of his head. So I'm going to go ahead and get this top half sprayed and painted gray. I'm going to use Rust-Oleum 2X. I'm going to go right on top of the hair and everything so that this will be a gray rat, and this side will be the original brown rat. So I'm going to take him outside. I'm going to mask off this trench because when we come back I want to run some staples in there so to separate the two halves of the head, make it look like a diseased, pus, nasty trail, a split where the thing was grafted together. So I'm going to do that now. When I come back, we'll start doing some stitches in this thing. The little pick, I'm going to get the tip nice and hot, and I'm just going to put it right through the head and the fur. It's going to burn me a nice little hole that will keep the hole wide open, and it won't snag anything on the drill bits either. So let's go ahead and try. There we go. Sinks right into the rat, wiggle it around a little bit. Now I can do the other side across from it, and they ain't got to be perfect. You can stagger them. You don't have to be exactly ladder-like. I think it looks better that way. So we'll stick one over here and go right into that head, give it a little wiggle, and we're good to go. So I'll put this here. Shut the grill off, or the torch off. Alright. Then we can take our staple. We'll let that cool for a little bit. I'm going to stick it right in here. I'm grabbing the underside with my finger. And I'm just going to bend it over to this side. Alright. Go right down in that hole. And then I can grab it from the underside and spread it out. Or you can twist them together, however you want to do it. And then you can always tap it down with a little hammer or something. And there we go, we got us a little stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do this whole head, top side and underside. Ooh, little fuzz. Get all our stitches in. And then I want to pour some, I think some greenish or maybe some Devcon, I'm not sure. I want to pour something to look like that seam is irritated and diseased and poisonous and nasty. So I'm going to get all these stitches in, and then we'll come back and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, YouTube, so we're all stitched up. You guys can see I went all over the head, down to the middle, I put a little piece of wire in between every hole. So now I got that nice heavy seam and the fur's pulled back, so I'm real happy with everything. I think my next thing is what I'm going to do is I want to make that seam kind of angry and irritated. So I've got this glue, it's glow-in-the-dark glue pink, that I made my monster canisters with. I think I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill that seam a little bit so there's some pink down there, because later on I'm going to blood wash it, or I'm going to do like a toxic green, yellowy, pussy color, or maybe both, I'm not sure. But I think I want to start with pink because it'll help glue that seam down. It'll make that little irritation look nice and red and give you that little dividing line. So I think I'm going to go through, go right around all these staples, and do me a little bloody line that'll be glow in the dark. So I'll go ahead and go around. I'm going to do the whole head, and then I think we'll move on to the body. We'll let the head sit for now, and I got to do the same thing to the shell. I got to separate the halves. I got to put some staples in the body around the arm and the leg on this side, and the shell is pretty wonky, it's pretty weak, so we're going to beef that up a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and fill the whole seam in and go all the way around so I get that nice reddened irritated seam. And when I come back later on, we're going to stomp on that body. We'll let the head sit for now because I think the head's pretty well close, so we'll come back in a minute. Okay, YouTubes, so the head's drying, working on the LEDs and stuff. This is the body for this thing. This dome screws down to the little wooden base with a couple of screws on both sides. And then they give you this big old fur blanket that velcros in a bunch of different places underneath. Looks like there's a big chunk of padding on there. Kind of slides over something like that. There's some kind of little latex scarred appliance or something that's already coming off. So let's just go ahead and do this our own way. Let's get rid of this padding. Gone, and latex is coming off anyway, so let's get rid of it. Alright, so I got the head kind of mocked up where I wanted it. I figure I'm going to take this half of the rat, this front quarter over here, and make it look like it was the grafted on section. All these damn velcros hanging off, sticking to each other. So my plan is to get this pelt where I want it on this flimsy dome, and we're going to fix that flimsy dome too. We're going to put some great stuff around the edges, or some Loctite foam around the edges to kind of give it some stiffness and stuff. So I've got a place marked out where I want my thing. I can't glue all the way down here because I've got to have these screws pop loose so this thing can come on and off that base. But I'm going to kind of center it up where I want it. See, it already fits all janky, which is great. And I'm going to use some Super 77, and I'm going to glue this rug to the top, probably top quarter of this thing, and I'll leave a little flap to get to that screw. Okay, YouTubes, so I went ahead and glued the little pelt right on top of the little plastic goofy dome they give us. I went ahead and cut it with the razor blade. I folded the edge back just like I did on the head to make it look like a nice heavy seam in there. The glue is still drying. I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some paint on this front quarter where the leg's going to stick out so it looks like the part of the gray rat. And again, all I did was use some little contact cement. I brushed the lip, folded it under to have that real wide, thick, heavy, like angry seam, and I kind of just tucked this back with the tongue depressor I got from the doctor's office, just to make that gap open. So I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to go ahead and paint the front quarter of this fur gray. I'm going to go back just like the head. I'm going to put this down in the seam so it helps it glue, and it gives that pink, fresh operation kind of color, so we can come back and either do a little bit of blood later, or probably blood and some pus and some boils and blisters and stuff. Okay, YouTubes, we're back. We're going back to do our stitches in this guy. I'm just, again, same method as the head. I'm just taking this old baling wire and I'm cutting some maybe 1.5 to 2-inch little pieces, and these will be our little medical staples. I'm going to do the same thing as I did in the head. I'm going to fire up the torch. We're going to heat up our little puncture tool. I'm going to get it hot, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put holes right through the fur and right through that little plastic dome. This way we ain't got to use a drill, because if you drill it, it's going to snag the fur and want to pull it out. So I'm going to get this nice and hot. And I'm just going to sink it in there, just like that. Do a little wiggle, boom, I'm good to go. Then I'll do one on the other side, and you can make your stitches jagged if you want to do stitches at all. They don't have to be all perpendicular and perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and knock all these stitches out. Okay, YouTube, so our stitches in place. I went ahead and laced everything up with those little pieces of baling wire all the way around. So now we got our two different colors of fur. This is what it looks like on the underside. You see all the little wires hanging on the underside. I'm not going to trim those. I'm going to leave those as is. And this being a big, goofy bubble, I don't like that it doesn't have stability. If I'm going to stick this thing outside for a while or store it, I don't want the bubble collapsing or heat in the shed. So before we move on to the boils and blisters, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and foam this thing a little bit. It's got these little ribs that are already in there. I just want to go ahead and use some Loctite foam and make a couple of passes, a couple of arches, so when this stuff hardens up, it'll keep this thing from wanting to collapse. And there's plenty of room for the head and the fog tubes and stuff to go through it. So just basically a little simple fog job. I'll do one on top of all the little stitches to keep them in place. Something like that. Just to give him a little skeleton to have this thing keep its shape in the shed and in the heat when I store it. Okay, YouTubes, we're back. I want to make some boils and blisters for this rat to make it look like it's a diseased lab rat. So I got some Super Sculpey Original. It's super easy stuff to work with. I got a pan to throw all the stuff in the oven. We're going to sculpt right on a little bit of the shiny foil. And then I'm going to use these half domes to cheat. These are just wooden half domes. And actually, these would be fine. You could just put those in if you wanted to. And glue them right to the rat and glue them like boils and blisters. But I want to make a bunch of little odd-sized blisters, and I'm just balling up clay real easy. Little ball. Then I'll roll it out like a little cylinder and stack it up so it looks like a little wart or something. I'll smash the top down. Boom, this guy's ready to go. We'll put him over here. I'm going to make a bunch of those in different sizes. And I want to go ahead, I want to build up some of these blisters too. And I want to just flatten out a little piece of clay. And I'm going to go right on top of the little wooden dome. And that'll give us some room to glue when we shave out a piece of that fur. Just like so. And you could double up and do two together if you wanted to. So you have one blister right next to the other. Let me just roll this out. So with the clay, it's just going to give us our lumps and bumps look like this guy's totally diseased. So I'm going to make a bunch of these up, and I'm going to take them in the house, and I'm going to throw them in the oven. Okay, YouTube, we're back. I went ahead and pinched off a bunch of clay and just made a bunch of boils and blisters and disease and just pock marks and filth and nastiness. I went ahead and brushed everything with clay softener just to smooth over just the tops of the domes to knock out fingerprints. I basically just used my fingernails and smooth stuff out a little bit with the silicone shapers. Nothing too fancy. I just wanted raised areas because when these bake, they're going to have a nice fleshy sheen, which is going to be perfect. So when we come back, we're going to start gluing these onto the body. We'll shave out some patches of fur. We'll 5-minute epoxy these on, then we'll finish them up. We'll finish that shell, and then hopefully we can get this rat together and take a final look at him. Okay, YouTubes, we're back. We've got our little boils and tumors and all that stuff made. We got a nice little array right here. I went ahead and let this guy dry overnight. You can see all the foam is kind of smashed down, so now he's a whole lot thicker and firmer than he was before. So when we store this thing, that big stupid bubble won't cave in. So let's go on to our next step. So the pellets kind of glued down on the top. I want to go ahead and we're going to take all these little boils that we made out of the polymer clay. I kind of want to place them around the rat where I want them. I think some big ones on top, some smaller ones, little tumors and disease parts and stuff. I think he looks freaking awesome. We're just going to grab a tumor, probably stick it on, shave out a little area. There we go. Alright, cool. Pull a little excess hair off. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of place these guys around on the rat where I want them. I'm going to pick different spots. I'm going to go ahead and use some DevCon 5-minute epoxy. I'll mix a bunch up. And then I'll go ahead and just use a popsicle stick to scoop out and glue it to the back of the tumor and place it on the rat. That way I got it where I want it. And then we'll go on to paint and make these things look like they're all pussy and ready to bust. And then we can mount this body onto the head, and we can finish up on this guy and do our little last minute details and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and place tumors now. Like as we got all kinds of little boils and tumors and blisters. I'm going to place them all around the rat, all over this whole hide, and then we're going to move on to our next step, which is paint. Okay, YouTubes, so these guys are all glued on. I went ahead and E6000 them on versus using the 5-minute epoxy. I had so many of them, I didn't want the epoxy to glue, would have to keep going back and mix it up, so they're on there good. They've been on there for a day or so. I went ahead and took some red acrylic paint, made up a wash with a little bit of water, a little bit of soap, and it's only just a drop or two of soap just to help smooth it around. I want to go ahead and get a hold of all these big warts and boils. I want to kind of base coat them in a red, and I'm basically just stabbing the paint down so they look kind of irritated and like there's blood under the skin. And I want to go over and hit all these. You can hit the tops too, it don't matter. And I'm just taking a little bit. If it's too much for you, you can wipe it off, no big deal. But I want that red irritated color down in the bottom of that. If you get it on the fur, no big deal. But I'm going to go around and hit all of these. And then I want to go back with this yellowy color. You could use any color, a mustard color, a yellow color. And I want to do a little bit of wash on the very top so it looks like that boil or blister or tumor is about to pop and it makes it look more sick and nasty. Okay, YouTubes, we're on to the next step. I got everything washed with the red irritating red wash. I went ahead and took a little bit of Spirit blood and brushed around the base and just drug it down the pelt how it would naturally leak off. I took our bright yellow. I went ahead and made a wash, and then I've got some full strength on the side, and I just want to kind of come back, and I just want to touch these high spots where these blisters look like they're ready to bust, just to make that little differentiation of color. And then if it's too much, you can always dip in, take a little bit more water and make it weaker, but I just want to brush the tips of those blisters because they look like they're just ready to pop. I went ahead and took my high gloss Liquitex varnish and mixed it with a little bit of the green glow paint, and I made a clear coat that's tinted with this putrid, green, funky, nasty color. It's going to look like pus and goo and all kinds of sick, disgusting disease. As well as that, I took the same Liquitex, mixed it with a little bit of alcohol ink, and made some fake blood. I'm going to take the fake blood and I'm going to pour that in the crack, the big wound that runs all the way down the staples. I'm just going to let it run and do its own thing. The same with the boils and the blisters and the tumors. Those guys are just about dry, and that's perfect because I wanted to kind of pick up this yellow and take it and run with it. This Liquitex, I want to grab that yellow and kind of spread it out over the stuff that's not fully dry, which is awesome. And I don't even want to brush this stuff. I want these blisters to look like they're fresh and that they're oozing like pus and disgusting disease and whatever. So here's what we made up. I'm just going to pour it right over the top and just let it run down on the fur and everything, just like that. Right on the top. You can put as much or as little as you want on. You can go by drops. Oop. Hit these guys down here. This guy down here. Ooh, that looks nasty. Look at all that disgusting disease. Just want to hit them tips so it makes it look like their blisters are bursting. Do on the back side. You guys won't be able to see this. Oh, that's awesome. That looks totally putrid and disgusting. Okay, YouTube, so when I first filled this tail with silicone, it took forever to dry, and the backer rod in there was making air pockets, which I didn't like. Every time I tried bending it after the silicone was starting to cure, it would kink. These things were molded straight, so it doesn't have any really room for bends. So I had to pull all that crap back out. I went ahead and got one of that snake you guys saw in my haul video from Menards. I just took the screws out and took the front half of the snake, cut the head off, and I rammed the snake down into the tail. So now I have a bendable tail that's backfilled with silicone, and it's still drying. And I'm going to go ahead and ditch the original piece. I'll just screw this right down to the back of the rat where it goes. Okay, YouTube, so I got the tail on this monster. The ink is dry. I went ahead and ran a drill, an 1/8-inch hole, ran a wide head screw to the top of it, so now this tail ain't coming off. I'm happy with it. Like I said, it's got that nice fat, thick rat feeling like a possum tail would. I went ahead and mounted the head on the chassis. I went ahead and dry brushed his front arm because this is where the part where the gray patch, where it looks like the gray rat was spliced into the brown rat. So once that pelt dries, we're going to get it up here. We got to put some screws in. We got our fog tubes ran, our motors plugged in. All it is down to final little details. I want to do a little bit of dry brushing, I think, on the heads. Put a little pink in the ears, go through the teeth, open those up a little bit, and we'll move on to final paint, and we'll get this thing done and show you what he looks like all together. Okay, YouTubes, so I kind of got him put together. We got his tail on. We got that nice fat round possum tail that I like. I got all his blisters done. I went ahead and put some Devcon, a little bit of the green paint in there, and made it look like they were oozing pus. So I got him screwed back down, his hair is on, I cut the padding up, added a little more padding in the right places so he fills out kind of nice. But again, I gotta tell you, man, when I put the head on, oh god, epic fail. The LEDs didn't work that I had put in there. These guys drew too much voltage or something like that, so they wouldn't light up. So I ended up having to go on Amazon and find a bunch of lower voltage ones. So I ended up finding a pair of yellow ones that are real bright. So now he'll have red eyes in this head, yellow in this head. I tell you, between the head and the tail, man, this thing really freaking fought me. But we're down to the final details. I want to do some dry brushing. So I got a couple of grays. I want to dry brush on the gray head over here. I've got some lighter browns I want to do because I really like this tone of brown. I'm going to dry brush his heads. I'll probably do a little bit on his feet, not too much because I really like the way his feet look all kind of ratty and looking. And then I want to do some pink in the mouth, and I want to make the mouth wet. I don't know what the hell I do with my pink paint. I just had it in my hand. Over here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of pink in the mouth and the ears, and I want to do a little work on the heads. And then I got one last thing I want to throw at this guy, and we'll call him done. We'll throw some fog in him, plug him in somewhere, and we'll take a look at him working. Okay, YouTubes, I'm back. I went ahead and I split his teeth just to give that a little more detail, like it's two separate teeth versus just one. I used a bunch of the excess fur I had from shaving off this guy's spots, and I went ahead and brought this guy's head, four-line head, down a little bit more so his heads look a little bit different yet. I took some green paint, I sprayed it in my hand to the glove, and I kind of rubbed it into the brown side to give it that sickly green color. And I did a lighter gray on this side so it's not all just one solid wash of color. And I did some washes in the face, some dry brushing, kind of tweaked the mouth out a little bit, painted the teeth, put some pink in the mouth like I wanted to make it look like that fresh gum. I took a coat of the UV resin and I put it over all the eyes to give it that nice hard coat. And this stuff is amazing, cool stuff. I went ahead and I took some plain old sewing thread, real tiny white fine thread, and I glued it in the mouth where I wanted it. Just put a little dab of crazy glue to each side. And then I followed it all along with this UV resin, and then I turn my light on to cure it. It cures in about a couple of seconds, and then you leave it on there so you can kind of slow drips. So that's how I got all the drips in his mouth with the slobber and stuff coming down. I think I can probably show you guys. I'll try and do the top teeth. Alright, so we'll put a little bit of UV resin on the top teeth. Give it that wet look. We'll let it run down, and then, oh, that one dropped. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, let that run down, start to cure it, too much, let it go a little bit longer, and catch it, frozen in time. So now it looks like his fang's dripping with like some kind of sick venom or something like that. So this UV resin stuff is awesome, I love it. Like I said, I got it on the coats of the eyes, I put it on the teeth. What I think I'm going to do next is I'm going to blast out the back of the mouth with a yellow transparent Rust-Oleum stain. I like to use this stuff on fur, and I use it on all my concrete skulls and stuff. But and then I'm going to blast out the mouth with that sickly yellow color. I'm going to put a coat of DevCon and everything on top of the noses. And I did go ahead and I drilled out the nostrils on both sides to give it that deeper look, like when I split the teeth, uppers and lowers. So I want that sickly yellow color on the back of his mouth for both of them. And I'm going to basically finish up his mouth. So I got to cut a little piece of sheet metal out. I went ahead and I've mapped out the numbers. I'm gonna punch in TSC for test subject, cobwebs and candlesticks 2020 on our little rat. That way I'll remember when I built them. So I've been on Amazon like a while back when I built my locks, and I got these little raised punch letters. You just put a hammer down and stamp it into whatever you want. They're for marking tools and stuff so nobody steals your tools. So I got the T laid out. Let's see if we got them oriented. Okay, so T. I'm going to go right in the middle of the tag, and you just smack it with a hammer. So you can see that little T in there, right there above my thumb. Can you see the T? Camera, will you focus? Alright, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and punch this out, the TSC 2020, and when we come back, our rat's going to be done. Alright guys, he's done, man. Check him out. We got him sitting up on the table. Got some fog hooked up. That's the yellow glowing eyes. You can adjust the volume down, that's maxed out. Alright guys, I'm gonna see what my little kitten thinks of her. Ooh, what do you think of that, Miss Bryza? That's a big rat. You wanna get him? You wanna get him? What do you think? You wanna be friends? You wanna be friends? No, you don't really care for him? Get that big old rat. Come on, girl. Get that big rat. TSC? Or, what did I type? I don't remember how I typed. Test subject CC 2020. He's pretty gnarly, guys. I got all his boils and blisters. There he goes again. You can see one head's got the yellow LEDs I replaced. The brown head has the red LED eyes. And he's got blisters and boils and cancer all over him. His fog tubes. His tail's nice and thick and heavy like a rat's tail would be. I'm just super freaking thrilled with him, man. Got maximum gore in his mouth. This is the side I wanted grafted on. Again, with those tumors and blisters and bubbles. A little bit of the green paint I put on his fur. I'm really happy with him. I thought when I saw this guy, when a mutant lab rat right out of the box. Plus he's a fogger if you want to run fog, so that's kind of cool. Fog might be a little much, but pretty cool. Alright guys, that is my Spirit rebuilt lab rat. Oh, there he goes again. Man, he was fun, but man, he was a challenge. Oh my god, was he a pain. Alrighty guys, this is my mutant lab rat I made out of a Spirit Swamp Varmint. Man, I hope you dug it. It was a labor of love. Was it a pain at times? Yeah, I wanted to tear my friggin' hair out, but I'm super thrilled with how it came out, with all the epoxies and resins and filth and staples and everything else. I'm just super thrilled with them. So if you guys get a chance, man, go check out my brothers in the Trio of Terror, Vic Springson. His new channel name is Monster Misfits, because he takes all kinds of misfit pieces and mashes them together to make monsters. And go see Dave at the Weird Kid Show channel. We are bringing you guys builds non-stop. Halloween and beyond. Halloween does not cancel this year, proof positive. I hope you guys really dug this and get some entertainment out of it. And man, you guys don't be afraid to take a Spirit project and rip it up and make it something cool, unique, your own idea. So this is my lab rat. Man, I hope you guys dug it. Come on, girl. Oh, I can't get over that. So awesome. Alright guys, thanks for watching.